Okay, so you're going to navigate to TinkerCAD.com. Once you are here, this is the page you will be looking at, and then you're going to go ahead and click Sign In. You do not need to create an account. You'll already have one provided for you through this social providers link here. So when you get to this sign in page, just click here. Do not put an email address because this is asking you to sign in to an existing one, but we already have our Google accounts, so go ahead and click here. So we're going to click on Google. And go ahead and click on your school-based account. And this should either auto log you in or you should have to put in your password. But you will be brought to a page like this. You'll see probably a blank avatar here with your name, and you'll see my recent designs, but you'll have nothing here. This should all just be blank, or it should say something like no designs created yet. So here you have choices. You can make 3D designs, you can work on circuits, code blocks. So if you're really good at coding, you might want to build things using coding. And then there's lessons here. I don't know if you'll see this as a student, but as a teacher, that option's available here also for me. So up here is a gallery, blog, learn, and teach, which are all just different options you guys can explore. So instead of opening one that's already open, I'm going to go ahead and create a new design. To reopen pre-existing files, you would just hit Tinker this, and it would open work that you've already done. So for today, I'm just going to go to Create New Design. And it's going to bring up the CAD program. Just remember, this is very elementary. It's meant for very beginner CAD design. So if you want something a little bit more robust, or this is too simple for you, you can explore some other free apps that are out there. But this one pretty much does everything I've ever wanted it to do in terms of basic CAD printing for 3D. Okay, so a few of the components of this screen, up in the toolbar we have copy. So if you want to make more than one shape that's the same, you can use this copy and paste format. Here you have paste, and this is to duplicate. So this is a faster way than copy and paste. Keyboard shortcuts are always really helpful. So you can see this one says Control D. So I'll show you that once I put a shape on the platform. Delete, so if you want to get rid of something, this is undo and redo. This cube here helps you view your work from all different areas, or different angles. So if you just rotate it, you can also click on it and it will auto navigate for you. So like if you're struggling to get it on the top, you can just come up here and hit top, back, and then if you want to go back home, it should flip here. Oh, it's not showing it. So if I go here, it'll turn your work plane for you. So if you've turned this, you can also use Control and click your mouse or your trackpad. So if you hold Control, you can drag it however you want. But if you get it spun this way, just hit Home to go back to the base. Okay. You were zoomed in, the Fit All in View would recorrect your view to get it all in one image. Zoom in, zoom out, and then this is your orthographic or option to change. It doesn't really make much of a difference, but some people prefer a different view. I'll show you that once we get some shapes on the platform. Up here we have a few different tools here. We have Show All, some things you might want hidden or grouped together. So Show All will bring everything back up as an independent shape. Group is to connect one or more shapes together. This is really helpful if you permanently are all done editing something and you want it to become one piece. So that's a really helpful tool. You guys should definitely make use of this one. And this one is the ungroup. So if you grouped things together and then you want to take them apart, you would just select that one object and then hit ungroup. This is your align tool, so if you have like multiple squares or multiple shapes and you just kind of throw them on like this, and you're not really being very precise, you could even do other shapes. You can do select all, and then if you do align, you get these dots, so you can align them in the center, you can align them in the middle, so they're all still there, however they're just all aligned. So if I click away, you'll see that they're all still there. I've just aligned them. So if I align them all on the left margin, I would click this one and they would all go to the left. So if I spin this down, you'll see, and I can shift and click this one and it will drag it up without moving it horizontally. Holding shift, it just kind of locks it into whatever direction you're going the first time you move your mouse. So I'm going this way, and then I can move it this way. So it kind of just locks your axis for you, so it makes it easier to manipulate the picture the way that you want it. Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and delete that. The more you learn the shortcuts on the keyboard, the easier it will be for you to work a little bit quicker. This is the mirror option. So for example, if I wanted to put a text, being too impatient, if I put a text up here and I hit mirror, it's just going to flip it. I could flip it whichever way I want. And you can also use these handles to turn them. Something that's really good to know about turning a piece of work is if you just grab the handles, these arrows, it will go every large line, so in between here, these two big ones. If you need to get more detailed than that, just grab the lines out here. So if you put your arrow farther out, you can fine tune it by degree versus in here, you're kind of moving it at a bigger angle. So hopefully that will help you guys get a little more precise. So those are really a lot of the basic controls that you guys will want to play with. Here you can change what the text says. All right, you can change the font. There's very few choices because the printer needs to maintain a certain ability to print, so the cursive might be a little bit trickier, but if we used Scribble, we could definitely use a cursive font if we wanted to. Height will change how tall it is, or you can also change the height here by grabbing that white handle here. You'll see it's white. Once you select it, it's red. If you want to drag something off the work plane, so everything gets placed on this blue plane, and if you want to move it up off the plane, so that something's like at a higher level and then you put another shape under it, you can grab this black arrow and pull it up, so you'll see the distance that I am off of the grid. So if I wanted to add a box below this, I would drag this to be 38 to match my previous, so that I would make sure that they're connected. Because you cannot 3D print something floating up in the air like this, because the printer will just drop the plastic at 38 centimeters off the grid and it would fall down onto the platform. So it wouldn't really be a very good print. But if I put this under here, I am connecting the two because this one's 38 and this one's 38, and then I could resize this to fit the howdy. So anyway, so that's kind of some of the toolbars. These arrows are really helpful to twist things. So let's go ahead and start building something. So sometimes you might import something that will have a pre-existing file, like if your teacher shares something that already has parts in it. Those are the parts that you'd probably want to leave as is so that you meet the criteria that your teacher's looking for in terms of building your car or your document. So let's see, what do I want to build? 37 by 82. So I would want my shape to be connected. I can kind of examine my shape. So you can see there's a little bit of a gap here, so I might close that in a little more. I have no idea what I'm making. I'm just playing. I want this to have 64 sides. And let's go ahead and bevel. So the bevel is just, it's going to change the angle of the edge. So if we look at it, you'll see it's a little bit raised compared to, okay, that looks a little bit better. All right, so if I wanted to cut something out, sometimes you might have a shape like, let's use this sphere. And let's say I wanted to create, I don't know, like a wheel, or I want to make this a different shape. I can either drag another one into my workspace and put it on top. Let me align these two so that they're in the center first. So I will align again, center, center, and now when I attach them, oh, actually let me, there we go. So I'm just going to drop that one down so that we can see the hole in the middle. So now if I select both of these and if I hit group, it's going to cut out this hole in the center of my shape. So you can kind of see, you can create negative spaces essentially on any shape using any tool. If I undo this, I can flip this piece around and I can create a, let's do a 180 so I know it's perfect. And let me drop this down because I want it to go through the plane. I want to completely cut out through the pink space. And if I group these together, I'll completely have a hole down the center. Okay, so when you look at it from the bottom, this would be the piece that's missing. So you can definitely get more precise if you're looking to do specific measurements. You can edit the grid. The snap grid will allow you to get a little bit more precise in terms of how many millimeters it would snap your object. So like if I were to put this shape in, this polygon, I can go to 1/4 of a millimeter, and if I zoom in, you'll notice it will move at a much smaller, you can see it move 4 times essentially per little grid here. Okay, so to get back to my window crashed. So here's your half sphere with your cutout. And if you wanted to edit your grid, you just go down here. You can have it move by larger increments. So you'll see it kind of goes every 5 millimeters. You can also change it to inches. If your teacher is asking you to do inches, you can do bricks, but most people don't really use bricks unless they're building something like that looks like it's supposed to look like Legos. So millimeters is usually fine for me, but you can choose whichever one you want. Let's see. You do have some other options here. You have text and numbers. You have some characters, which, so if you're building something, you can kind of add some interesting elements to your builds. Connectors. So if you're doing like ball and sockets, you can kind of create them a little bit easier by using some of the pre-made pieces, or you can design your own circuits. So if you're doing some electricity kind of things, they have some light switches and whatever that you can add the electrical components to. There's a dinosaur you can print, there's a skeleton, and then this is your favorites or things that you've generated as shapes and saved. So when you export, if you're ready to print, you would just hit export, and you always want to save this as an STL file if you're going to actually 3D print. So normally we avoid using any of these. So if you just download your file and share it with your teacher in STL format, it typically has worked. If you're doing something a little bit more detailed, you might have like a laser cutting file type, but we're going to go ahead and do STL. So let's just do demo file, and I'm just going to put that on the desktop, save. Now when it appears on my desktop, so this is what it looks like. It will look just gray and white. So I'm going to go ahead and open that using preview. Okay, so here's the shape, and then I'm just going to, I can hold control and I can flip this in preview to make sure that everything is exactly how I want it to be printed. This is the file that I would share with my teacher or the printer. You can put this on a USB drive or share directly from a laptop into the 3D printer. So pretty much you can drop these files into Google Drive and they hold really well between transferring files. All right, so and up here you have your designs. So like if you wanted this to show up in blocks, you could choose the block, kind of looks a little Minecrafty, and then there's also the Legos. So it would build your object with Legos. You can make them smoother, more detailed. This would basically mean that it's going to print smaller cubes. So that's pretty much it. I do want to show you guys one more thing. If you guys navigate to Thingiverse, oftentimes you can find things that are already pre-designed for you to 3D print. So if you're looking for something very specific, you could, so here's one. So this one's a favorite with some of the junior high kiddos. Here we have a cute mini octopus. This is kind of like a file sharing website, so you can really search for so many things here. And once it loads, you can download the files, you can print them as is, or you can import them into TinkerCAD where it said import up here. And you could print your own octopus. You could put a little scuba mask on him if you wanted, or bunny ears. But this is actually printed where the legs actually move. So when you snap them, they actually become mobile. I don't know if there's a video. So this is kind of what it would look like in your print. So I know that's a very quick intro, but dive in, get started, see what you can create, and I will try to be available to your teacher to answer questions. So if you have anything specific you want to ask or want to know, just ask your teacher, she'll jot them down, and we can go from there. So good luck, have fun, and go tinker.